Hello everyone, welcome back to another YouTube video, and today I want to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs and how them losing in the second round is actually a pretty big deal. And it's not just about winning the first round playoff series. No, I'm talking about losing in the second round. How does this affect their team, the fans, everything about the Toronto Maple Leafs? So let's just have a discussion. Firstly, I want to talk about the shock of them winning in the first round and the pure excitement of all the fans in Toronto. It's something that the media was going crazy about. Even people who don't even watch hockey, they were starting to figure it out and tune into the games and really care about the team. And then, of course, in the second round, you got the Florida Panthers. Everyone was so excited that they beat the Boston Bruins, the best team in the regular season. The fans even chanted that they wanted Florida in the second round. So you could tell there was a lot of excitement around this team. You could tell that the fans were really into it. And then all of a sudden, even though they had home rink advantage, they still lost their first two games at home to the Florida Panthers. And this was a huge kind of turning point. As a home team, you never want to lose both of your first home games, and they did that. So that was really unfortunate for them. And then they went on the road, went into Florida, and lost game 3, and that was the nail in the coffin right there. 3-0 down is a tough obstacle to get past. And then, of course, the media firestorm thereafter was pretty intense. The players were definitely feeling the pressure at that point, 3-0 down in the series. It was really bad. They did win game 4, but in game 5 at home, they lost again to the Florida Panthers, and now they're out of the playoffs. And really, this has a lot of implications, and that's kind of what I want to talk about. In terms of my thoughts about the core four, I think Tavares should have never signed that massive contract. That was a big mistake by Kyle Dubas. Tavares has been a very serviceable player for the Maple Leafs, usually scoring at about a point per game pace every single season he's been in Toronto. So he has been producing points-wise, but just the contract is just unbelievable. We'll take a look at Cap Friendly in a second, but I also want to talk about Matthews and Marner over here. Matthews, you could say he goes away in the playoffs, he doesn't score this and that, but at the same time, at least from what I saw in Game 5, he was trying his best. I mean, I don't think you could blame a lot on Matthews. He was shooting, he was getting those opportunities, but sometimes when it just doesn't go in, it doesn't happen for you, and that happens to everyone, so I wouldn't blame him. But from what I noticed, I didn't see Mitch Marner doing a lot this playoffs. He wasn't affecting very many games at all, especially in the second round. He was almost unnoticeable. Definitely in the first round, he was Toronto's points leader, did really well, but in the second round, it just seemed like he wasn't in the play. He was getting outpaced in terms of the game, in terms of the physicality of the game. I was a bit disappointed by him. And then Nylander, of course, he was definitely their best performer out of all four of them throughout the series, just in terms of consistency, even though he's one of those players that isn't too physical, is not going to play drive. I thought he was still playing at a very good level. But you could blame the players all you want and say, they're not really performing. But at the same time, it's about the management and the coaching staff who are actually building the team up, developing them. So let's talk about that. In terms of Sheldon Keefe, I thought he was out-coached in both series. I'd say they got through against Tampa Bay just because they were the better team. Florida was way more aggressive than Toronto. The Panthers were able to win that series pretty easily. And in the playoffs, Sheldon Keefe actually has a negative coaching record, indicating his bad performance in the playoffs when it gets serious. In the regular season, of course, his coaching record is going to be really good. He's been coaching a winning Toronto team for 4 seasons now, and it just seems like it's been too long with Sheldon Keefe behind the bench without any playoff success. So in my opinion, I do think Keefe should be let go. I do think he should get an opportunity elsewhere, maybe as an assistant for the next 1 or 2 years, but I think they should move on and try to build with someone else behind the bench. In terms of Kyle Dubas, looking at his trade history, I do think the last deadline for Dubas was pretty good overall. They got some good players such as Luke Shen, who has been performing pretty well for the Leafs since he got here. They had to give away Pierre Engvall's cap space to acquire Ryan O'Reilly. I thought Ryan O'Reilly was a great trade, bringing in a veteran who's already won a Stanley Cup. That was a really good move for Toronto. Also acquiring Noel Acciari from St. Louis in that same deal. He's been pretty serviceable on the third line for Toronto. The one trade this year that I didn't agree with was acquiring Eric Gustafsson and a first overall pick. Although the first overall pick is nice, they did have to give up Rasmus Sandin. Of course, Sandin, since arriving at Washington, has been a really good player for them, scoring a lot of points in the latter half of the season. But Eric Gustafsson has barely played for Toronto. In the playoffs, whenever he was on the ice, he'd only get about 10 minutes of ice time per game as the seventh defenseman. So in my opinion, they didn't really use him to his strengths. He wasn't on the power play. They still had Riley for that job, which I don't agree with. I don't think, and that goes back to Sheldon Keefe, I don't think he did a great job managing Eric Gustafsson. And just as a general trend for the Toronto Maple Leafs, it just seems like every deadline or every offseason they have to trade away draft picks and draft picks and draft picks just for rental players. I'm thinking about Colin Blackwell, Ilya Lyubushkin. It just seems like they're just getting rid of pick after pick after pick. And if you look at their draft picks for the upcoming few years, they really don't have a lot. I mean, this year in 2023, they have one first-round pick. That's going to be a lower first-round pick. And then they just have a round 5 pick and a round 6 pick. So it's like they really don't have a lot in terms of the draft. And this has been going on with them for years. It's pretty clear that they don't have a plan in terms of drafting, building with the draft. It seems like they want to trade and sign players to get a championship. Just for example, in 2021, they did draft Matthew Nyes, who is definitely a great pick for them, but they really only had 3 picks that whole draft, which is not a lot at all. In 2020, they had a pretty successful draft, but none of these players, William Villeneuve, Niemela, Hirvonen, have been moving up the ranks in the system. A lot of them are still down in the AHL. In 2019, they did draft Nicholas Robertson. That was a good one. And then Rasmus Sandin and Sean Durzi the next year. But it just seems like none of these players are really taking the step up, except for their first-round picks, of course. They have Sandin here, Liljegren here. They have Austin Matthews. I think except for their first-round picks, a lot of these guys have been unfortunately moved because they just want to move their prospects to trade up at the deadline and amass a player pool for a playoff push. So it's like they don't have a real strategy to develop their own talent, which is unfortunate. And that's kind of why I don't believe in Dubas to lead this team for the next few years. He is out of a contract, and if I was running the Maple Leafs, I don't know if I would sign him. I'd have to really evaluate that decision. But that will do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this kind of discussion about the Toronto Maple Leafs and their future. If you want to see more of these videos, drop a like on this video. Let's get it to about 10 likes if possible. And let me know in the comments down below what you want to see from the channel if you like this video. We have the conference finals coming up tomorrow, starting with Florida versus Carolina, so it's going to be a really interesting series. I'll definitely try to watch that one. It's going to be really entertaining. Anyways, I hope you have a great day. I'll see you next time.